Alright guys, welcome back to another video on the Detroit Lions 2020 NFL draft class. As we've been doing, we've been going over the rookies that the Lions drafted in this previous draft and going over what their strengths, what their weaknesses are, why they were drafted where they were, and kind of how they're going to fit in the Detroit Lions system. So today we're going to be going over the 4th round pick, Logan Stenburg. But before we get into it, obviously, if you enjoy the content, consider liking the video, subscribing to the YouTube channel, and sharing it with a Lions fan that would enjoy this type of content. But that's all, that's the only request I got for you guys today. So I would be very appreciative if you do that. But with that being said, let's get right into the breakdown on Logan Stenburg. So before we do anything, I should tell you that the Lions ended up trading this pick away. They originally held the 109th pick, which was the 3rd pick in the 4th round, and they traded it with the Las Vegas Raiders. In that trade, they gave up pick 109, and they received pick 121 and pick 172. In between those picks, like in between 109 and 121, the players the Lions missed out on were John Simpson, Darnay Holmes, Solomon Kinley, Joshua Kelly, Troy Pride, Leaky Fotu, Harrison Bryant, DJ Wam, Albert O, Michael Walker, and LaMichael Pirine. So those, none of those guys are really big needs, big positional needs for the Detroit Lions. None of them I would say that the Lions were even really that interested in looking at. Maybe some of the offensive linemen, but I think that Logan Stenburg was better than all of them. So, the Lions wouldn't have traded down if they didn't think Logan Stenburg would have been there a couple picks later. So, that's just how they saw it. Those are the players that went before Logan Stenburg, and I think that we got lucky that he didn't go off the board, because Logan Stenburg is a very good guard and could be the steal of the draft. I know I said that with a couple of the other guys, but I really think that this guy could come in and be a dark horse to contribute and be a starter for the offensive line next season. So last season, Logan Stenburg was a senior guard at Kentucky University. He stands at 6'6", 317 pounds. He graded higher than Jonah Jackson. He was given a 5.98 grade by NFL scouts, which still roughly equates to a backup or a special teamer. But he is also only 0.02 points away from being in that next tier up, which is considered a tier where players have valuable traits that can be molded into a NFL starter. And I definitely think that Logan Stenburg has certain traits that the Lions are looking for to become a competitive, nasty run team that just drains the clock and, just hits you in the mouth for 4 straight quarters until you can't do anything, until your defense is just worn out and gassed and, they're still fresh and running the ball hard. So I think Logan Stenburg can definitely help with that. I think that's what the Lions are trying to transition into. So Logan Stenburg at the Combine ran an unofficial 5'3", 40-yard dash. He had a 26-inch vertical jump, a 104-inch broad jump, an 8-second 3-cone drill, and a 4.83 20-yard shuttle. Again, as I said in the Jonah Jackson video, I don't really look into Combine that seriously unless it's a freak athlete that, breaks a record or gets really close or does very well at a certain thing. Unfortunately, Logan Stenburg did not participate in the bench press, but if he did, I think that he would have been I think he would have done very good at that. I think that would have been one of his strengths, and I think that might have boosted his draft stock. He might have done that well. But obviously he didn't, and he fell to the Detroit Lions at the 15th pick in the 4th round. But why did he fall? And why is he a good pick for the Lions? So going over some of his pros, unlike Jonah Jackson, he is an absolute people mover. He pancakes people. He moves them off the line. He is a dominant force in the run game. You will not stop him. Like, if he wants to, he will run straight through your defensive line no matter who you have there. And that's something that the Lions really needed at guard, especially if we're trying to run the ball more. He has great strength, obviously. He's a very physical and aggressive blocker, a very aggressive and physical offensive lineman in general, which is very good for him in the run game. He's a fantastic run blocking guard. He is just, you know, he doesn't allow, well, he's a people mover, like, right? If you have a people mover on your offensive line, they're going to create huge lanes for your running backs to run through. And the Lions really needed that. Not that the offensive line was bad last year, but we lost a couple pieces that we really, really needed to replace. And I think Logan Stenburg can definitely help with that. You know, some of the negatives, he struggled early in his career with pass protection. You know, it just wasn't his strong suit as an aggressive offensive lineman. He's always looking to get contact early, and sometimes some of the quicker defensive linemen, you know, would be able to avoid him, and he would stumble and fall. And unfortunately, you know, just if you're on the ground, you're not going to be able to protect your quarterback very well. But as his career went on, as his collegiate career progressed, he got much, much better at pass protection. But it also wasn't something he was necessarily asked to do a lot at Kentucky, as Kentucky is a run-first team. They like to run a lot with the ball. They don't throw it a whole lot. But last year, he had over 260 pass attempts to, you know, block for his quarterback, and he only allowed one pressure. So, you know, he has improved every year at pass blocking, and I think that now that is no longer considered a weakness for him. I would still say that his strength would be considered run blocking, but he's not necessarily a liability in pass protection anymore. And then the other really big negative that I've talked about a couple times when talking about Logan Stenburg is that he draws a lot of penalties. He's pretty much the exact opposite of Jonah Jackson in the fact that he has, you know, poor hand placement. He doesn't, you know, he has that elite strength that he doesn't necessarily need to have great technique and great hands. But because of that, he sometimes has a tendency to draw holding penalties and flags. He was flagged 24 times in the past 2 years, which is something you cannot do as an NFL player. You cannot hurt your team on the offensive line. You know, and if you hurt your team, if you have a lot of penalties, you're not going to be able to play, or at least you're not going to be able to start in the NFL. But I think that, you know, if the worst quality of an offensive lineman is that he's getting better at pass protection, which was really one of his big weaknesses, and penalties, which you can help him sort out, you know, I don't think that's a bad player to take in the 4th round. As I've said before, penalties are easier to iron out than it is to add tenacity and, you know, fierceness and competitiveness and, you know, just aggression to a player. You know, it's easier to dial stuff back than it is to add it to somebody's game. So if he has all the physical tools and he has the mindset and the, you know, work ethic to, you know, help the Lions and be a good guard, you can definitely iron out some of his rougher edges, you know, smooth his, you know, just smooth him out a little bit and make him a little bit less, you know, just help his technique so he doesn't draw as many penalties, basically, is what I'm trying to get at. But as I said, he only allowed one pressure in the pass game last year, so obviously his pass protection has gotten much better as his collegiate career has gone on, and I would expect him to take another leap forward next season. He just seems to get better every single year, and I think in the pros with professional coaches, surrounded by professional offensive linemen that have done this for a long time, that know the little tricks that, you know, help guards and centers and tackles just be that much better to stop opposing defenses. I think that he could take a big leap forward as far as, you know, less penalties and just be all around better guard. So one interesting story about him. So when Kentucky played South Carolina, one of the really hyped up matchups was Javon Kinlaw, who, if you don't know, actually went 14th overall to the San Francisco 49ers, and Logan Stenburg. And South Carolina put him on the opposite side of the line from Logan. They did not go up against each other very much, if at all. You know, they did not want to mess with Logan Stenburg. Javon Kinlaw, a first-round pick, top 15 pick in the NFL draft, did not want to mess with this 4th-round guard just because of his tenacity, his nastiness, his, you know, willing to be aggressive and just hit you as hard as he can and push you down the field. So if that's any indication on just the level of respect that he has from his peers, you know, that's a very good thing for a rookie to come to the league with. He led college football last season in pancakes, which is technically an unofficial stat. If you don't know what a pancake is, you know, the breakfast food kind of gives it away. You just put the guy on the ground. If you put the guy on the ground and he stays there, you know, you could just put him on the ground. That's considered a pancake, and he led college football in that last season. So that's a very good thing. Obviously, as I said, very good in the run game, and that just proves my point even more. But, you know, that's kind of all I got. Just a very big, nasty guard. I think that he can compete for a spot, and I think even if he doesn't get the starting spot, if he can't necessarily figure out that pass protection in the NFL, if he can't clean up his penalties in the pass game, I still think that he could be a rotational guy on 3rd and short or goal line situations where you bring him in at left guard, you run behind him with a Bo Scarborough who has so much power himself. You know, you double team with Ragnow and Stenburg, and you go right up that crease to the left side. I mean, there's not too many defensive tackles or, you know, interior defensive linemen in the league that are going to be able to stop that. So, you know, I think that he can definitely have a role on the team, even if he's not a full-time starter, whether that other starter is a Terrell Crosby or a Joshua Garnett or a, you know, somebody else moving around on the offensive line. I think that he can still have a role to carve out as a rookie, and I think that he can help the Detroit Lions compete in 2020 and just really help us out when it comes to the running game. You know, but again, as an offensive lineman, there aren't a lot of stats to go over necessarily, but I really, you know, I think this was a very good pick for the Detroit Lions. I know we took guard back-to-back, but they're pretty much the opposite of each other. Jonah Jackson is not the strongest, not a people mover, has great hands, and Logan Stenburg just moves people. He's an absolute bully, but tends to draw flags. But again, one last thing, actually, I just thought of this as I was outroing. It's more of a question, you know, he doesn't pass protect prettily, like very pretty, but do you want your offensive lineman to look good while pass protecting, or do you want him to not allow a sack or a hit on the quarterback? It's just really a good question to ask, because, you know, he's probably going to draw some penalties. He's probably not going to look very good in pass protection, not very fluid, but if he doesn't allow the, you know, opposing team to hit Matthew Stafford, I think that, you know, that's the most important trait in an offensive lineman, is you keep your quarterback upright. So, that's all I got for today. You know, there's not a lot of stats for offensive linemen, which is unfortunate. So, you know, I can't go into, you know, things that he does well. Like, he's not a receiver. He's not a running back. He's not going to get a ton of stats. He's not a very flashy position. But it is what the Detroit Lions needed. It's going to help the Detroit Lions become a better rushing team in the NFL, and probably, you know, just help us take another step forward in the running game to be that physical, hit you in the mouth, pound you for 4 quarters type of football team that wins football games. So that's all I got for today. If there is Lions news before tomorrow, I will, you know, obviously make a video, inform you guys. If not, I will see you tomorrow with another YouTube video talking about the Detroit Lions. Now that the position projections is over, I'll probably just look at this series, try to finish off the draft picks, and then we'll move on to the 2020 season and, matchup projections. So we have the schedule now so we can see who we're going to play when, so we can start that up and, just keep our eyes glued on, the 2020 NFL season. So I'm excited to get to that, but, obviously I got stuff to do. So I will see you guys next time there's Lions news or tomorrow with another video, and that's all I got for today. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.